Hello, friends. Welcome to Chickenlandia and welcome to Bawk Talk, your 100% friendly backyard chickens show. I am your host, Dahlia, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. I'm a backyard chicken educator that has found peace and joy in the chicken yard, and it is my mission to help you find that too. All right, friends, welcome. Today is episode 5. I think that's right. Episode 5 of season 6. We are going to be talking about taking care of your chickens through the fall. And I'm going to talk in depth about some things that you can do right now, not only to get your chickens through this season, but also if you do these things, it will likely help you to have a better winter. And that's what we always want, because right now is really the time to prepare for winter, which is for a lot of people the toughest time for their chickens, even though summer's pretty hard, but it can be pretty hard depending on where you live. But winter, I don't know, it just seems to bring out the stress. So we're going to chat about that first. And then I have a listener question that was submitted through my website, welcome to chickenlandia.com. I will be answering that. And then after that, I'll open up the chat here live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X for your questions. Yes, we are all over the place tonight. If you want to submit a question to Bawk Talk, all you have to do is go to welcome to chickenlandia.com, go to the contact section, and then click ask a chicken question. Okay, that's how you can submit your question. While you're there, you're going to want to join the best chicken mailing list in all of the multiverses. It is called Chickenlandia Nation, and I will send you a discount for my online course, Chickenlandia's Backyard Chickens 101, a chicken course for everyone. That is my super fun, interactive course. It's great for beginners. It's great for intermediate chicken keepers. And it is pretty much the only way to get direct access to me. And so you can, once you purchase the course, you can go back into the course at any time, as long as it's live in its original form on the internet. You can go in there and you can ask me questions and I will answer you. And I usually get back to people pretty quick. Usually it takes about 24 to 48 hours, as long as there's not like a holiday or something. So there's that. Yeah, that's it. I'm really proud of it, and I hope to see you there. Okay, I am going to say hello to some people in the chat. Yeah, and can I just say, there's a lot going on over here. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I haven't posted a long form video on my YouTube channel for a couple of weeks. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that my mom came and I went on a few days of vacation with her. And then I had to work on the first edit of my book. So when you write a book and you're dealing with a publisher, in case you guys don't know, I wrote a new book, but right now it's with the publisher. And then it's like it goes through these edits and all these reviews, and it's time consuming. And it's also like, I don't know, it just it takes up a lot of space in my brain. And then during the middle of all this, I ended up with a few of my animals got very sick, and I have a chicken that just got out of surgery a few minutes ago. And that's a whole thing. All right. And I'm not going to tell that story right now because I'm saving it. I think it's a good story. I think it's going to be a good story. Hopefully it'll be a good story. But I'll be talking about that on my channel probably next week. So a lot going on here at Chickenlandia. But anyway, let me say hello to some people in the chat. Kathy C is here. Mellyhen. Chantone, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is here. Thank you. Debbie is here. Oh, there's the Chickenlandia presidential advisor. Yay. Mrs. K, I don't know how to pronounce your last name because I'm not even going to try. I'm sorry. Let's see. Kayla, Rachel, Angela, Amparo Brooksky. It's Chickenlandia time. It sure is. Who's your pioneer? Hello, Angie's here. Pam, ooh, from Mexico. Yay. Andrew, hello. Well, it's great to see all these people here. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so let's actually get to it. Today's going to be pretty cut and dry. Okay, I'm going to basically just go down the list of things that you can do now and to keep an eye on. And of course, it's all going to be very simple because that is the Chickenlandia way. Okay, and the other thing that is the Chickenlandia way is I just want you all to know this is advice that I'm giving you. It's always optional. There's no rules in Chickenlandia. Basically, if you give your chickens a nice life outside, they have a nice life outside, they get to live outside, they get to have food and water and have a nice place to live in nature, and they're not in a factory farm, I'm good with that. Okay. But anyway, here goes. Okay. So, number one. First and foremost, if you have not done it yet, now is the time to do a deep cleaning of your coop. Okay. And I'm not talking about like a regular cleaning. Obviously, you're doing that. I'm talking about like a real good deep cleaning of your coop. So, of course, you want to remove whatever substrate you have in the coop and replace it unless you're using sand. If you're doing deep litter, which I'm not going to go into the specifics about that right now because it would take too long. And I also have a new video coming out about that on Wednesday. So if you're watching live right now on Wednesday, that video will post. If you're listening, it's already posted. If you're listening to the podcast, it's already posted. So go and check it out. So yeah, that is going to go up and it'll be more detailed about the deep litter method. But if you're doing the deep litter method and you haven't removed your shavings for this year, then I would do that pretty soon. Okay. Wipe down everything that you can wipe down the ceilings and the walls. If you can, you could use like a white vinegar and water solution if you want to. Just do a really deep cleaning so that you can go into the late fall and winter without having to worry about getting into a situation where you need to do a deep cleaning and it's really cold or it's really wet or it's frozen depending on where you live. Okay. Because in some places it's like, it's literally so cold you can't even scrape shavings. Okay. So there's that to consider. All right. Number 2. Now, okay, sorry. I'm just getting back into the swing of things. Okay. Number 2. Now is the time to get some habits in place to get your flock as healthy and resilient as possible ahead of anything that might lower their immunity. So fall is beautiful. We love fall. But it's a pretty tough time for chickens because in most places, not only is it molting season, but it's also, and that's really hard on their bodies, but it's also parasite season, okay, depending on the weather where you live. So if you get some systems in place right now that help your flock stay healthy and resilient through the fall months, then you hopefully won't be going into the winter with chickens that are a little bit compromised with issues that need special care. I don't want you to think it's the end of the world if you end up with a sick chicken in winter, but it is harder. Okay. And I want things to just be as easy as possible for you. So right now, make sure that your chickens are getting the best balanced nutrition that you can offer them. Okay. That's whatever you can afford, plus some really healthy scraps and some healthy treats. Okay. You also want to make sure that they have grit on a regular basis if it's not available for them in their natural environment, and that they have some kind of calcium supplement on offer for them. You can do oyster shell, you can do limestone, or their own eggshells crushed up and served back to them. Okay. But if you do the latter, if you do the eggshell thing, I do want you to also focus on giving them some calcium rich scraps. Okay. Because you don't want just their own, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you're giving them the calcium from their own bodies, and you just keep recycling that. So we want to replenish that. Okay. All right. And as far as external parasites go, regardless of whether you've observed anything that would indicate that there's an external parasite thing going on with your birds, one thing that you should really do before it gets too rainy and cold is to make sure that your chickens have a place to dust bathe when it does get rainy or snowy, and there's just nowhere for them to create dust baths in their natural environment. Bathing in dry dirt is a chicken's number one defense against external parasites. So it's very important for your flock to have a place to do that, even when it's super gross outside, and even when it's like so cold that you don't think that parasites can survive through that. They hibernate. So we don't want to go into not only winter, but also into spring. Let's say the weather gets warm and then all of a sudden all these parasites come out of the woodwork. You don't want that either. Okay. Let's see. It's also a really good time to just start checking your chickens regularly for mites and lice. If you're not doing that already, it's a good time to get into the habit of doing that. I would say at least once a week. Okay. And this is actually really easy. You can get yourself a headlamp or a flashlight, and then go outside once the chickens are roosting and it's dark outside. You want it to be dark, not like dusk, but dark. You go outside and then you just lift their tail up, and they're roosting. So they're hopefully not going to like completely freak out. They'll be more subdued, and just look around their vent area. And if you can do this on a few birds, you don't have to do it on everybody every time, maybe rotate it, then you'll have a pretty good chance of catching something very early. And also, if there's poultry red mite, so around the vent, that's where you would see northern fowl. And poultry red mite, it lives in the coop. They can live in the coop walls, and they can live on the roosts. So they come out at night. So you can actually see those on the roost if you go out there and look at the roost with the flashlight. Okay, so again, I have videos about all this stuff on my YouTube channel. If you don't find what you need in the show notes here, you can just do a search, because I'll probably post some links, but you can do a search on my channel, and I have so much information about parasites. So go and check that out, and it's just a good idea to get on top of that kind of stuff right now. Okay, number 3. Unfortunately, speaking of parasites, fall is also a prime time for internal parasites. So things like roundworm, and especially coccidiosis, they can be more prevalent in the fall. Obviously, coccidiosis can be pretty prevalent in the spring when baby chick season is here, but in the fall, especially where I live, it just gets like rainy and muddy, and those are like that is the environment for coccidia to multiply. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of treating preemptively, okay, for internal parasites with conventional medicine. If that's something that you feel like you need to do, you will never get any judgment from me, but that's just not something that I do. I'm a very natural leaning person. I know that there's a place for conventional medicine, but for the most part, if I don't have to use it, I won't. And it's usually not my first course of action. So, it's not like in Chickenlandia, we have a program where I deworm my chickens every 3 months or anything like that with fembendazole or something like that. I just don't do that. So, but if like I said, if you want to do that, that's okay. But there are herbal preventative programs. And if you're going to do something like that, and if you only want to do it for a certain time of the year, I would do it in fall. Okay. There's a few different herbal anti-parasite products on the market. I don't like the ones that you give to them every day. If they contain wormwood, I wouldn't use that, because wormwood is a very potent herb, and it's really not meant to be taken every single day. I just think that's kind of an assault on their systems. So I'll leave my favorite one in the show notes. I'm not sponsored by them. It's a small company. They're called Molly's. I think it's Molly's Herbals or Mary's Herbals. I think it's Molly's Herbals. But yeah, I'm not sponsored by them. I just really like their product. But Molly's Herbals, if you're listening, I'm here and I love your product. So I don't know. I just like, sometimes if I find a product I love, I will contact that company right away and I'll be like, hey, I want to work with you guys. Do you want to come up with an agreement? But sometimes it's like, I don't know, I just find a product and then I forget to contact them or whatever. And then I've already promoted them so much. It's like, I feel weird calling them at that point. So anyway, Molly's Herbals, you're lucky. I love you guys. Okay. Number 4. So the fall is a very good time to get your chickens on some immune boosting herbals just for general resilience. Okay. There are a ton of great herbs for chickens. I talked about a few of them on my channel. But the 2 that I like the best, and I think that they're just so easily accessible. Everybody has them. They either, they might be growing them, or you might have them in your cupboard. And those are oregano and thyme. And these are 2 herbs that are really good, especially for like any kind of respiratory thing. They are antiviral, they're antibacterial, immune boosting. They just have, they're anti-parasitic. I think both of them are anti-coccidial as well. So they're just great. So you can sprinkle those herbs on their feed, or you can put them in a treat. You could grow them fresh. I just did a video a few weeks ago about growing them right in the chicken yard, because right now I have them. They're growing right in the chicken yard, and my chickens do eat them. So I'll put that video in the show notes for you. Or you can even make a tea out of them, and just add it to their water. And these are gentle herbs. You can give them to your flock every day. I do it, I have the fresh herbs for them. When I was sprinkling it around, they would get it like sometimes I would do it every day, depending on when it was, or I would do like a few times a week. Okay. And while you're at it, it would probably be a good idea for you to add some garlic in there, at least a few times a week. All right. Because that is also very good for them. It's another thing that is immune boosting. It is, antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, all the good anti stuff. So there you go. If you're interested, I will tell you, recently I started using this product and I really like it because it has oregano and thyme. And a lot of times, like my top 4 things are oregano, thyme, garlic, and apple cider vinegar. And so I would either like buy products that had one of those or 2 of those in them and use 2 different products. I found a product recently that has all 4 of those, and you put it in their water, and it's so easy. And it's called, oh gosh, what is it called? Daily Hen Health. And it's from Hilton Herbs. But My Favorite Chicken sells it. So Hilton Herbs is a company in the UK, and in the US, My Favorite Chicken distributes it. So I'll leave a link for you in the description, in the show notes, and there's a coupon code in there. So that's if you're somebody that doesn't want to grow this stuff or whatever, or you don't have it in your cupboard. you can just buy it and then it's done. Okay, so all right, that's it. That's all the points of care for right now that I just think these are the ones that I think are the most important for you to consider. I know some of you out there are still in the summer months. I'm jealous because here in Chickenlandia, the leaves are already turning. You can just smell fall out there. And some people really love that. They just love the fall. And I do like the fall, but I got to tell you, I always get a little sad when summer's over because I really love the summer. So can you guys hear my dogs barking? Because they're barking. I think the FedEx guy is here. The nemesis. I'm going to text my son really quick and tell him to let the dogs out or hang out with the dogs. Unless you guys can't hear them, because then I guess it doesn't matter. I didn't text him, so we'll see. The FedEx guy's leaving. Okay, so now I am going to answer a question that I received through the Chickenlandia website. Welcome to chickenlandia.com. But before I move on, I need to make 2 announcements. Okay, 2. That's 2. Because I gotta pay those chicken bills, especially today, because chicken surgery, guess what? It's not cheap. Okay. So here we go. I need to let you know that, as always, this podcast was brought to you by the folks at My Favorite Chicken. My Favorite Chicken is my favorite online shop to get my feed. I get my non-GMO, organic, and socially responsible scratch and peck feed there. I get my chicken supplies, my fun chicken treats, and I get my awesome chicken supplements like the Daily Hen Health, and so much more. So definitely go check them out. I will leave that link for you in the show notes, plus a coupon code for you. This podcast was also brought to you by the folks at Small Pet Select. Small Pet Select has an online shop that I know you will love, and they also sell in the UK too. Right now, I am loving their herbal supplements. You guys know I love giving nettles to my chickens. I love giving plantain to my chickens. And they have both of those supplements that you could buy for your chickens. And then they also have one called Flower Power that's really good, and a few more. And they have the oyster shell, the flaked oyster shell that my chickens love. So go and check that out, plus all of their other awesome chicken products. There is a link in the show notes for you, and there's also a coupon code. And remember, they have stuff for little fuzzy animals too, like rabbits and chinchillas. All right, so let's go to the submitted question, and then I will open up the chat for questions. So this question is from Debbie. Got to get my electrolytes. These are the Relight electrolytes from Redmond, and this is the immune one. So right now I'm starting to do the immune one because this back to school thing is wild. Okay, so Debbie says, one of my 6 pullets has been bullied. So if you don't know, a pullet is a female chicken that has not started to lay yet. One of my 6 new pullets has been bullied by my 2-year-old hens. She has not eaten or drank water for 2 days now. I am afraid I will lose her if I don't intervene. Yesterday, when I noticed her trying to hide in the yard, I separated the older birds right away. She will not come near me, and she will not even look at the food I put down for her, even the black soldier flies. She just goes the other way. She is 13 weeks old and was so friendly and happy. Now her spirit is gone. Oh, I'm so sorry. What should I do? I bought the babies at 6 weeks old and have kept them in a separate coop. And the yard was separated by fencing. We took the fencing down the other day and all seemed to go well. Boy, was I wrong. Okay, Debbie. So first of all, I'm so sorry that is happening. It's tough. It's really tough, especially, I don't know if you're new at chicken keeping or not, but a lot of people just don't expect it to be so difficult. And sometimes it can be difficult, especially if you have a young chicken that's like really submissive. And every once in a while, someone will get a chicken like that and they'll tell me about it. And it's hard. It's really hard to integrate those types of chickens in with older, crankier hens. Okay. So, but it does sound like you've done everything right. You want them to be, one thing I want to mention, it sounds like this is how your setup is, but I'm not sure. But you want them to be able to really get close to each other through the fencing. So what you don't want is for, like, let's say there's two coops with two different fenced in areas and they're so far away from each other that, yeah, the chickens can see each other, but they can't like actually face each other very close. Okay. And you want that. You want them to be able to kind of like they shouldn't be able to get to each other. You don't want them to be able to like reach through and really hurt each other. But you do want them to be able to come right up to each other so that they can work out a lot of those like pecking order rituals that are so important to kind of get out of the way before you let them all together. So if you don't have that kind of setup, you might want to adjust things so that they can be very close to each other without being able to hurt each other through that fence. But even if that is what it sounds very extreme what you have going on, especially the not eating part. So that to me is kind of a signal that there's something going on that's beyond just like regular integration stuff. I think that she might not be well. I think that chicken might have something going on. Because once she's away from the other chickens, she should kind of return to feeling okay enough to eat, because a chicken that is not eating like that, it could be like a shock kind of thing, or it could be illness. Okay. So I would really keep an eye on that. And sometimes that happens, with young chickens. They seem really well, and then they get to the adolescent phase and they just can't get past that phase. That's not super uncommon. It can happen. There's illnesses that can get to chickens during that time. And then also, if there's any kind of reproductive issue that wasn't an issue before because their reproductive organs weren't really active, but when they start to become active, sometimes during that time is when you might have a loss. So I want you to make you aware of that. Make sure that you have several food and water stations during this time. And then also put down some treats, like maybe it might be a good time to make like a flock block for them. There's a recipe for that on my channel, and it's also in my book. Is it in my book? Wait, it might not be in my book. It's in the new book. It's not in the old book. There's a recipe on my channel for it. Okay. And it's like, I think it's just called like DIY flock block. So just however you can distract them would be good right now. If you're open to flower remedies, so flower remedies or flower essences were created by a homeopath, and they're a lot like homeopathic remedies, but they work more on like the spiritual and emotional side of things. Whereas homeopathy can also work on that kind of stuff, but a lot of it has to do with like physical ailments. So there are a couple remedies that come to mind, and I'm just going to read you those. Those are in my book, and I'm going to read some information about them. One of them is vine, and the other one is, what is it? Aspen. Okay, so, oh gosh, and of course I can't see a darn thing. Okay. Tell you what, and these are progressive glasses, okay? So, aspen is for chickens who are anxious and shy and lack confidence. They may seem to want to integrate but are too afraid. This is good for single chickens being integrated into a new flock or for chickens who lost their flock and therefore must be integrated into a new one. And also, I would say, good for an adolescent chicken that is just really, really submissive, like what you have. And then Vine is for chickens who relentlessly bully new additions to the point of not letting them eat or drink, even after the integration process, which sounds exactly what you've got going on. They may force new chickens into constant hiding. These chickens are too dominant, going overboard with the pecking order. So those sound pretty spot on for what you've got going on. And for the flour remedies, like you can put a couple drops of both of those in all of the water. Okay. And whoever needs it, they're so gentle that if a chicken is drinking that water and they don't need that remedy, it's not going to affect them. But if they need the remedy, it will be good for them. Okay. So I would put both of those remedies in all the waters. And if you're open to that, and you can get those usually at any health food store, they will have them. And hopefully that will help. I definitely think you should have a contingency plan too. And rather than, giving away all your older chickens, you might look for, somebody that has a bantam flock or something where they could welcome in a young, standard sized pullet that is very submissive, and she can go be in the bantam flock and rule the roost there. Okay. So, I'm so sorry. I hope that this helps, and I'm just sorry it's been so hard. I really understand. Okay. Okay. Now I am going to open up the chat for questions. My friend Lisa is here. Hello, Lisa. Yeah. So if you have a question, if you can please post it in all caps so I can see it with these progressive lenses. That will very much help. Okay, hold on. And I know some of you have posted questions, but if they came like while I was talking, it goes by so fast I can't really see it. And I'm seeing questions from all of the platforms, from Instagram, from YouTube, from X, and from Facebook. So sometimes it's like, So if you would kindly, if you posted a question before and I haven't gotten to it, if you could kindly post it again and post it in all caps, I would greatly appreciate that. Oh, okay. So, Melly Hen asks, why did your chicken get a surgery? So, I will tell this story. I'll just go ahead and tell you guys, because I think I don't think there's a ton of crossover between like my long form videos and my podcast. There is a little bit, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So a couple months ago, I had a chicken that she came down, she wasn't well. And I have illness in my flock. I have chronic illness in my flock. I know that. And it's something that I'm always managing. It's a form of mycoplasma, and it's a rare form of mycoplasma. And it's been difficult to deal with. But I figured that's what it was. So I put her on some Clavamox, which is basically like amoxicillin. And I went out of town, and while I was out of town, I think she may have missed a few doses of it, but I didn't even think that was a very big deal because, she improved really quickly after she started getting on the Clavamox. But then she was fine. She was like back with the flock and everything. And then all of a sudden, one day I walked into the coop and she was on the ground and the roosters had attacked her, and one of her feet was like, it had like died. And so that was very strange. I thought, is it Bumblefoot? But Bumblefoot will, for the most part, unless it's a very serious reaction, a very serious infection, will respond to oral antibiotics. So I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of an infection that got to her feet. Um, so she had this, she survived. She got on antibiotics again. It was a heavy dose of antibiotics for a couple of weeks. And I was hand feeding her every day. And then she pulled out of it, and she really wants to live. Like she's eating and drinking and happy. And so I really decided that I'm going to try. And I don't normally, I don't always do that. Like quality of life is really important. I don't want to put a chicken through so much and then they're just going to die at the vet. I really don't like that. So, but this time I really felt like, she's really showing like that zeal to live. So she had surgery. They're removing her foot. There's more that's going to happen with that. I'll just say to you, my husband has a 3D printer. So we're going to do everything that we can for her. Sorry about my text. And yeah, so stay tuned. I'm going to do a video about it. And I'll give you more information, and you'll be able to see her, and I'll talk about what my plan is. So that's why my chicken had surgery today. Can you guys hear my dog whining? I hope not. She's totally fine. She just wants to be with me. Okay. Is it bad? So Julie asked, is it bad that my chickens, Rhode Island Reds and Wyandottes, are not molting? No, it's not bad. I will say sometimes, and especially if they're younger, like what you might see is they don't really molt this fall, but they might go through a light molt in the spring or a bit of a heavier molt in the spring, and then next fall you'll see that they really molt. So certainly if it's their first year, that's not bad at all. Nothing to worry about. Lotus Light Painting Studio asks, what are the chances of my girls actually coming into laying this year? They will be 20 weeks the first week of October. You're going to get an egg soon. Yeah, you will get eggs. Yes, they will lay. Probably. I shouldn't be so confident. I think they will. I would put money on that you're going to get an egg probably in the next couple weeks. And then, if when we start to go into winter, they may lay through the winter because it's their first winter, or they will take a break. Okay. It just depends. A lot of it depends on their breeding and how they were bred and what their breeds are. But yeah, I would say yes. Pal GDF says, do you know of any veterinarian in Tampa, Florida? I don't. I'm sorry, I really don't. Brady asks, I am in Canada. This will be my first winter. I have Easter eggers, all Easter eggers. My pullets are 14 years old. They're not laying yet. No roosters. Wonder if they should be let out when it snows. So, Brady, it depends on how cold it is. If it's so cold and windy that they could get frostbite if they go out, frostbite can happen really fast. And sometimes chickens don't know that they shouldn't go out. And so they'll go out. And really, this normally happens with chickens with a big floppy comb, or a rooster with a really big comb. You see it a lot with leghorns, where they are hardy chickens in the winter and they want to go out and they want to hang out, in the snow, and they'll go out there and in 10 minutes their whole comb will be frostbitten. So it depends. I would give them the option to go out into an area where there's not going to be drafts on them if it's really, really super cold. Okay. Because, like with anything, once it gets below freezing and if the wind, really it's the wind chill that will get them and the amount of moisture in the air. So, It depends. What you could do is if you can make an area that you can wrap in like some plastic, or you can put up even just like cardboard or anything that will keep out the draft, then you can let them out into that area. But you really just, if it's really really super cold, you really just don't want them to go out there and be exposed to that super cold biting wind. Now, I will say Easter eggers are way less likely to get frostbite on their combs. They might get it on their wattles, and they could get it on their legs and feet. So that I hope that was helpful. I think I answered the question. Goyanji77 asks, how long do you wait to reintroduce a young silkie after losing a wing? So that is a situation that you're going to have to keep a really good eye on, because if she is a submissive chicken and, losing the wing really kind of like made her timid or anything like that, you want to make sure that because she went through that injury, that she's not so submissive that she's vulnerable to getting attacked. But basically, you're going to do like the integration process again. So I would have her in an area where she can see the flock can see her, they can come right up to each other, but they can't hurt each other. And I would probably leave her in there, if you wanted to be really super safe. If she already knew the flock, it might not take as long. But since she has this injury, you might leave her in there for like a week, and then let her out and just, keep an eye out. And as always with integration, it is normal for some squabbles to happen. They have to work out that pecking order thing. But what's not normal is drawing blood. Okay, that's where you draw the line. If they draw blood on each other, then you have to start the process over again. So, or if they're like really keeping each other from food and water, which they shouldn't be able to do, because what you want to do is have those, more than one food and water station. So those are the two things to look out for. But yeah, I would go pretty slow with that. Okay, I am going to answer one more question, but before I do that, I just want to make one announcement. Hold on. I want to remind you guys, and I know I already showed you my book, I already talked about my book today, but just reminding you that this is my book. It is available at, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Tractor Supply has it. Your local bookstore likely has it. And if they don't, tell them to get it. I will leave a link for you in the show notes. It's called Let's All Keep Chickens, the Down-to-Earth Guide to Natural Practices for Healthier Birds in a Happier World. And I worked really, really hard on this. It's one of the best things that I've ever done. It's got a lot of my heart and soul in it, and a lot of really good information for chickens. So please check it out. And for those of you that have already purchased this book, thank you so much to those of you that already have it. Okay, one last question from here, hold on. Hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to find one that is. Okay, so we're going to talk really quickly about winter. HSHEBZ80 asks, I live in Ontario, Canada. Hello, my husband is from Burlington. This is my first winter with chickens. How do I keep them warm? And also, how do I keep their water from freezing? So in a place like Ontario, I have been there in the winter, and I have a rule. We have a rule in my house that Mom doesn't go to Canada in the winter because it's so cold. It is so cold. I just don't like. I don't know. Like I'm like people live here and it's freezing, and they seem like really happy people. It's very cold. So in that area in Ontario, um, you will have to. There's no way that their water isn't going to freeze, and it'll freeze very quickly. Um, so you really kind of have to get a heated waterer, and if you don't have electricity in your coop or in your chicken yard, you will need to run a line, an extension cord into your chicken yard. Keep that extension cord protected, where it plugs in. They have like these boxes that keep it protected from the elements, and get yourself some kind of heated water or a heated watering system, because it's just, I mean, if you could get out there it gets so cold there that it could be like every hour you'd have to be out there putting like hot water into the frozen water, or warm water into the frozen water, and just for it to freeze again. So that's the tough part of living in an area and having chickens where it gets so cold. But I would say, yeah, that's one area where you're going to have to get yourself a heated water. And you can find those sometimes on like free cycle sites. You can find them, here in the US. I don't know if they have this in Canada. I think they have something that's very similar to Craigslist. And I can't think of the name of it. It's like an online classifieds. And you can find them used, because every year, people get into chicken keeping, and every year people leave chicken keeping. People stop chicken keeping. So usually you can find them, because the heated waterers, especially the really nice ones, are pretty expensive. Now, if you only have a few chickens, you could get a heated dog bowl and use that. And that, depending on, sometimes even that it would just be too cold outside for that to work. But that's another, if you can keep it kind of sheltered and stuff, that's another option for you. And those are way cheaper than like a big heated chicken waterer. I know my favorite chicken has one. It's just a plate, and you put your waterer on top of it, so you can use it with different waterers. But it's like you set your water on top of it, and then it heats it up. So I hope that helps. It's cold. It's the surface of the moon, but we love it. We love Canada. Obviously, I love Canadians. I'm married to one. And he's a great guy. He's making a leg for my chicken, a prosthetic leg for my chicken. That's a good guy, right? Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you to my moderator and co-producer, Kelsey Paulus, also known as the Chickenlandia Presidential Advisor. Thank you to Talking to Crows for editing this episode, and to Double M Ranch for their wonderful podcast art. If you enjoyed this podcast, remember to rate and review it. And always remember, this is so important, you are always welcome in Chickenlandia. Bye. And now I just have to figure out how to sign off, because that is always like, I forget every single time. How do I sign off? Bye-bye.